I want to introduce a very special guest and a good friend of mine, Dr. Walter Mzembi. Walter was the Minister of Tourism, I think one of the longest serving ministers of tourism for his native country, Zimbabwe. He was also the foreign minister for Zimbabwe for a short time and now lives in South Africa. He's involved with the African Tourism Board and is leading the Safety Security Committee that was recently started. Welcome, Walter. Go ahead.
Thank you, colleagues. You again, congratulations. I think the oversubscription to this session speaks to what we're trying to serve. A sector that is 12% of GDP, global GDP, just before COVID, 1.8 trillion United States dollars in exports, representing 8% of global exports, and closing at 1.58 billion in 2019 in arrivals, and it was forecast to grow to 1.8 billion arrivals by year 2030. So we have to serve this sector, and this is why some of us who had gone into retirement have been called out to assist. But I want to compliment Peter on coming up with the corona resilience terminology. I think the key is going to be rationalization. We must universalize this terminology so that we all speak the same language, country to country. We are in 6s and 7s in Africa. As you would imagine, every country has its own recovery and response strategies to COVID. And I'm happy that I shall be working with Peter in the Safety, Security and Crisis Management Committee, but I've added the word disaster because African governments have basically pronounced the corona and COVID-19 as a disaster. And essentially that's what it is. So we hope that going forward, I can work with Peter to draft a strategic framework on how to respond to this issue in the African continent from country to country. We are witnessing the reversal of our legacy. I think most of us who work with Taleb would agree that the sector grew from 25 million tourists in 1950 to the 1.58 billion that I have just mentioned in 2019 on the back of only one philosophy, travel facilitation. And travel facilitation meant that the new index of measuring performance of tourism economy was going to be destination openness. It is this openness now that has been closed. And it is the openness that we are now saying must come back, recalibrated to come back, starting of course with domestic tourism, as has already been mentioned, growing to regional, to international. But I want to just underscore what Peter has mentioned on the issue of designating our tourist attractions, because we cannot start domestic, it will be too big a task. We must identify tourist attractions in national economies and around them, get governments to support the recovery of our tourist attractions by getting them as close as possible to what Peter is pushing, which is the corona resilience designation.
Yes.
So that graduality, that recalibration starts from the attractions, growing to domestic tourism, growing to the national product, growing to the regional product, and going forth. So I hope that together with Peter, we'll present a framework, I think by end of next week, that will show that recalibration and the coming back of the product on the African continent. I'll be available for questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Walter.
Thank you, yes. I think we can all see why Walter has been such an important person in the world of tourism. So, Walter, I know we're all I'm very much looking forward to working with you.
Thank you. Wow.
Thank you very much.